A few weeks after the commissioning ceremony, the advance elements of the 6th DB, 10 officers and 130 enlisted men arrived from Oahu on August 11th. With the completion of the airstrip on Eastern in early November 1941, the Marine Air Group 21 at Ewa Field on Oahu received notification of its pending move to Midway. Its VOT SB-2U-3, Vindicator dive bombers of Squadron VMSB-231, received orders to land on the aircraft carrier USS Lexington on December 5th for a departure from Pearl Harbor and arrival off Midway on Sunday morning. December 7th, Army Air Force Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress bombers en route to the Philippines had been landing on Sand Island for refueling for several months, and Navy Squadron VP-21 Flying Catalinas and destined for Wake Island had arrived on December 1st to spend a week at Midway patrolling the nearby waters until the Lexington arrived with VMSB-231. While the Marines toiled, 2 Imperial Japanese Navy task forces set course for the Hawaiian Islands. The main force under Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo sailed from Hitokapu Bay, now Kasatka Bay, under Russian control, in the Kuril Islands on November 26, 1941. Nagumo's force consisted of 6 aircraft carriers, 2 battleships, 2 heavy cruisers, 1 light cruiser, and 8 destroyers. Its target was Pearl Harbor. 2 days later, the Japanese destroyers Ushio and Sazanami, accompanied by a tanker, left Tateyama Naval Base along the eastern edge of Tokyo Bay, called the Midway Neutralization Unit. The mission of these vessels was the destruction of the new seaplane base on Sand Island, preventing those aircraft from attacking Nagumo's ships as they retired toward Japan after attacking Pearl Harbor. The existence of these 2 task forces was completely unknown to U.S. naval intelligence. Though the United States had been successful in cracking Japanese codes, those were codes primarily used in diplomatic communications and not naval codes. Navy PBY Squadron VP-21 launched 5 Catalinas early on Sunday morning. December 7. They flew prescribed patrol routes searching for anything out of the ordinary. They found nothing. On the seaplane ramp on Sand Island, 2 PBYs prepared to take off to rendezvous and guide in the aircraft of VMSB-231. It had been a routine morning on the isolated atoll until that first message from Oahu arrived at 6:30. Cannon and his Marines could not understand why Japan would attack the much stronger United States, but they were confident they would make the Japanese pay for that sneak attack. The Midway Marines spent the rest of December 7th preparing the atoll for war. There had been no further messages regarding any Japanese activity around the Hawaiian Islands. None of the PBY search planes had seen any sign of Japanese vessels. At 1842 hours, a sentry saw a brief flash of light on the horizon southwest of Sand Island. About 3 hours later, the lone operational radar facility at Midway picked up 2 surface targets about 15 miles to the southwest. Soon, observers in 2 searchlight positions, equipped with powerful night vision binoculars, reported that they saw shapes. At 21:35, the first salvo of shells came falling short. Then the Japanese gunners walked their fire up the beach. A salvo bracketed Battery A, a 5-inch seacoast unit at the southern tip of Sand Island. The blast severed many of the recently laid telephone lines. A salvo struck the new seaplane hangar. Another hit the power plant where Cannon had set up his command post. In the horrific blast, Corporal Hazelwood suffered a broken leg and platoon Sergeant Barber had his ankle smashed. Cannon suffered grievous injuries. Red-hot jagged shell fragments nearly severed his left leg, with the force of the explosion crushing his pelvis. Cannon refused aid and helped Hazelwood re-establish communications. Only after the radio was working and Barber and Hazelwood had been evacuated about 40 minutes did Cannon agree to medical aid, but by then it was too late. The Japanese destroyers circled for another run at Midway, and shells rained down on Marine gun positions, knocking out several of them. Marines firing a 3-inch anti-aircraft gun may have hit the enemy ships. A Marine-manned 5-inch gun then opened fire and hits were reported. At 21:58, the destroyers turned for home, and the second Japanese sneak attack on December 7, 1941 was over. In the 23 minutes, Cannon and another Marine were killed and 10 were wounded. 2 sailors were also killed. At dawn December 8th, Midway prepared for the worst, expecting another Japanese attack with land forces. The Marines of the 6th DB believed that with the damage sustained at Pearl Harbor, they were on their own. In anticipation of further attack, reinforcements arrived at Midway. But it was a slow trickle. 17 SB-2U-3s from VMSB 231, which were supposed to have landed at Midway on December 7th, finally arrived on the 17th. Ground reinforcements in the form of 100 officers and men from Batteries A and C 4th DB arrived on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Day, 14 nearly obsolete Brewster F-2A-3 Buffalo Marine fighter planes from VMF 221 landed. The next day, Battery B 4th DB arrived by sea with anti-aircraft guns and their crews. During the early months of 1942, the U.S. Navy continued to reinforce Midway. At the same time, the Japanese made plans to invade and capture the atoll. In June 1942, the two forces would meet in one of the most decisive naval battles of World War II. The Navy announced a posthumous Medal of Honor for First Lieutenant George H. Cannon for his selfless disregard of his injuries. The first Marine to receive the prestigious medal in World War II, he was the last Marine cited for heroism in the line of his profession. More restrictive criterion was later adopted. Conspicuous gallantry above and beyond the call of duty involving actual conflict with the enemy standard. The medal was mailed to his mother in Detroit. A destroyer escort D-99 was named in his honor in May 1943. He is interred at the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific, Honolulu, Hawaii. Cannon's mother loaned her son's medal to Culver Military Academy in 1943 for a display honoring his heroism. The school returned it after the war. In 2000, Cannon's sister Margaret donated the medal to Culver Military Academy, where it remains. Edward F. Murphy has written many books and articles on military history. He lives in Mesa, Arizona. To Lieutenant Cannon's nephews, Bart and Scott Cannon, the author extends a special thanks for their assistance.